Hi everyone, my name is Massimo. I am Microsoft Technical Trainer and one of the experts of the Infrastructure Learning Room. Today in this small video, I would like to talk about the storage account, and in particular about the access tiers for the storage account and a way to manage the blog in the access tiers using the lifecycle management. Before we start to look at the access tile, the important thing is to understand why the access tiles are so important. And to understand this, we can talk about what do you pay when you use the storage account. When you use the storage account, basically you pay for two different things. The space you use. So when you save 1 terabyte of blob, you occupy 1 terabyte and you pay for this terabyte. And the second one, you pay for the operation. Operations mean every time you write something or you read something or you delete something, you pay for that. I remember you that the storage account, we are talking about blob storage. We are talking about container service. Actually, the name is container service. Container service is the object store for Azure based on REST API. So every time you use the blob storage or the container service, I will use the same, both these names. Every time you use this kind of service, you interact with him using the REST API. So if you retrieve a blob, you make a get. If you save, you upload a blob, you make a post or similar. So at the end, you pay for space and operation. So you pay for what byte you occupy and for the operation you made. Honestly, you also have traffic. As usually, when you retrieve something from a region in Azure, you pay for the traffic, and also you pay for the traffic if you have a replication, a geographical replication. But in this video, for us, it's important, our importance, space and operation. In some scenarios, you have blob that you need to save in your object store just because your compliance force you to save. So imagine you have a log. Sometimes you need to save your logs for several years, but you don't use them. So you have these blobs on this storage just because you need to save them. And in this scenario, I want to, it's okay for me is if I pay less for the space. And sometimes when I use these logs, when I read these logs, but it's happened very, very, very rarely, I can pay more for the operation. So in this scenario, I like to have, I like to use the storage account because it's perfect for me to use the storage, to use the REST API, but I want to space less. So with this thing in mind, we can talk about the access tier. So the access tiers for the storage account are 3, honestly 4, but I tell you in a moment. So you have the hot tier, you have the cool tier, you have the archive, and let me write in red, you have the cold one. So why I write cold in red? Just because we announced this tier 3 weeks ago, yeah, and only in a certain region. It is a preview, so this is the reason why I write in red. I will show you now what is the difference between hot, cool, cold, and archive. First of all, these 3 tiers are online tier, while this one is offline. What does it mean? Online tier means that if you have a blob in one of these tiers, just before I explain this one, when we talk now about access tire, we don't talk about different storage. We are in the same storage. It's just when a blob is in hot or it is in cool or it is in cold, it's just you want to say to Azure, hey, I want to spend less for a blob instead of spend more. But you are even in the same storage. So online tire means that you can read directly the blob. So if you have a blob in hot, you can make a get and retrieve this blob without any problem. If you have a blob in cold or in cool, you can read immediately the blob using a get. Offline line, on the other hand, means you cannot read the blob immediately, directly. You need to move. You need to move or copy this blob in one of the other online tire, and then you can read. So first categorization is this one, and the second categorization is something related to the cost for the space. This is the cost for the space. Hot is the access tire that costs more than the other, and archive is the access tire that costs less respect to the other. So in the previous scenarios I mentioned it before, if I need to save my logs for 10 years because for compliance I need to retrieve, if someone asks me, probably I save in archive. If I need to save the photo of my user, and user use the photo every day, probably I save in hot. On the other hand, we say that we said that we pay for space and operation. For operation point of view, respect to the cost, this is the approach. Why? Because we supposed to put something in hot because we want to use frequently. So probably we made a lot of operation. In archive offline tire, we have we pay more for the operation because when we need to read something in archive, we need to move to the other. We need to move in two different ways with two different approach, and we need to pay more because we need to wait for hours between the start and the end of the operation or moving operation. So this is the approach. And just to make sure to show you the difference in terms of time and availability, I go to the documentation here. Here it is the summary of the access tire options, and you can see that the availability for the hot tire is more than the other two. The archive tire is offline, so there is no availability. You need to move to the other. So but availability is more in hot tire than the other, and the latency is pretty the same. Instead of hours for the archive tire, because I told you you need to move to other tire, and pay attention because the online tires you have the online tires in every redundancy configuration. You have the archive tire, as you can see here, only for LRS, GRS, and RA GRS. So just to have another idea of the cost, I use the calculator. So this is the Azure calculator. I add an Azure account, an Azure Storage account. I choose, I don't know, my region, North Europe, for example, but you can choose whatever you want. I don't want hierarchical namespace. This is exactly what I need. And in this scenario, so North Europe, block blob storage, hot tire, without redundancy, just using the local redundant storage, 1 terabyte cost $22, and the operation cost 0.05 every 10,000 operation. Okay. If I move to hot, the same blob, the same amount of space from hot to cool, the cost is the half, more or less, $10. And if you can see here, the operation is quite expensive, double respect of the other one. And if I move to archive, finally, the cost is less than $1 for the same space, but the operation is quite more expensive. So yeah, this is the reason why I need to use a different storage tier, just because I want to, one, give access frequently to my data. Second, I want to spend less. We go to the portal now, and I want to show you what this means, that the storage that you can move a blob from a tier to another one. I have a storage here, a storage account. Let me scroll again. Okay. I have a container called images. I go inside this one. I upload an image, a Colosseum, just because I live in Rome, so maybe good. Or you, before I upload this file, I want to tell you, you can set a tier, a default tier, a default access tier for the entire storage, for entire resource. And if you want, you can change here the access tier when you upload the file. In this scenario, I set the hot tier as default for the storage, but if I want, I can upload directly to the one of the other. Let me leave this hot. So I upload this file. It means that I can grab this URL, I can put here, and I can see the image. Not sorry, because yeah, I need to enable the patches. Let me check here. Let me check. Yeah. Sorry, this is one of the things we have since last week, if I remember well. Since last week, we by default the blob has no public access. So this is the way you can set it. And go to the containers again. And now let's try again. I can use the same, probably. Okay, we can see the Colosseum. Then I change the tire. So this is a logical movement. So I say I change tire. This is an API set tire. Or if you want, you can copy, but it's the same. And I move to cool. It's okay. I continue to read the data without no problem, because it is a online tire. Now I want to change again and go to the archive. Here you have a warning. Exactly, it says that if you need to download the blob, you need to move to the other two tire. So go again, and then that's an error. That's an error because this operation is not permitted on archived blob. So exactly what I said. So I need to move again back to hot or cool, and this operation requires hour to complete. So you can understand, I can use this approach to minimize the cost, because I can move from hot to cool and then to cool to archive my blobs if I want to save money. But there is a way to move. Is there a way to move these blobs using something, some automatism? Yes, we can. We have what we call lifecycle management. What is lifecycle management? In this blade of the storage, you can configure one of more rule. Every rule we can try as a name. Blob rule number 1, just a name. Okay, I suggest you to use a name that expresses exactly what the rule does, but it's okay. I can apply the rule to all blobs in storage account, or for example, filter some blobs. I don't know, only the blob in a container. Okay, it's okay for me now for this demo to leave rule to all blobs. I can apply this rule. The behavior of this rule can apply only on blob on the append. It's blob for me, it's okay. And also I can choose to use only the base blob, or if I enable versioning, I can use on the version on the snapshots. So the idea is in the next step, I configure the condition that moves blobs from hot to cool to archive. So I can say after 10 days, let me say 30 days after the creation, you move to cool. Then after 180 days, you move to archive. And then finally, after, I don't know, 1000 days, delete the blob. I can add. And starting from now, it's up to Azure to applies this rule. My blobs inside the containers will move from the hot to cool after 30 days after the creation. After 180 after the creation, we will move in archive and so on. You can create more than one rule. Behind the scene, the rule are the JSON. And if you look on the documentation, the condition can be on the creation date, this one, can be on the modified date, but you have also last access and last tire changed. So you can create your own JSON to describe all your rules, and then you can use this rule here and using the portal, using the command line, or you can use a template to add this rule. Okay, it's up to Azure apply this rule. And remember, before I close, remember these rules allow you to move from the expensive hot tire to cold if you are using the cold, but remember it is in preview, to archive, but not on the other side. So if you need to move from cool to hot, for example, you need to do by yourself using the API. One other thing before we close. Pay attention when you move from hot to cool and to cool to archive, because you can pay for what we call early deletion. I tell you what is the early deletion. You imagine this is the time axis. This is the time t. Imagine we have, this is the hot tire, this is the cool tire, and this is the archive tire. Imagine you save at T0, sorry for the color, I want to use this one. And time 0, you save something on hot. And the time 1 and T1, you move on the cool. For the cool, we have 30 days of early deletion, while for archive, we have 180 days for early deletion. For cold, if I remember well, is 90 days. What's happened? Here you have T1 plus 30. If you move back from cool to hot here, for example, T1 plus 10 days, you have this scenario. From T1 plus 10 and T1 plus 30, you pay for this, and you continue to pay, also you pay a fee for this part of the time. So you pay for 20 days in cool, even you move to hot. So of course, depends on the size of the blob, but pay attention because the cost here is not only the cost you have in hot tire, but also you pay a fee for the early deletion. Yeah, just because you move before the 30 days. The same if happened in archive if you move before the 180 days, or in cold if you move before 90 days. With this last topic, I finish this video. See you in next. Bye bye.